Hey guys, Cameron here with Palmetto State Armory, and today we're back with another episode of Coffee Talk, and I got a very special guest for you. I got Zach here from Capital Armory. Thanks for coming on, Zach.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, man. So Zach, you're with Capital Armory.
Mhm.
How did you end up getting into the industry? How long have you been in the industry now?
Man, just going over 3 years.
Yeah?
It's been a customer at Capital for 5. Been working there now for 3. Just doing started as sales, now doing all of the media.
Yeah.
So stuff like this.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you get into the industry though? Like how did you get into the firearms industry as a whole?
Shopping there. And then one of my friends had a job and he's like, hey, you want a part-time job?
That's awesome.
So that was kind of it. And now been to more SHOT Shows and everything, like every single year, just diving deeper and deeper into the industry.
That's awesome.
Kind of crazy.
So so did you move from Ohio to Texas to work for Capital? Is that how that?
No, I was a firefighter, EMT up in Ohio for 8 years. Moved down to Texas to just get to Texas.
Yeah.
And started doing like EP, executive protection, all that kind of stuff. Did that for a while. And then that COVID kind of killed a lot of that.
Yeah.
So went from that to gaming full time and now working for Capital. So a weird conglomerate or combination of things.
Yeah.
You know?
So does Capital Armory have like an actual storefront in Texas?
Yeah. That's our headquarters in Cedar Park, Texas.
Yeah.
That's where the whole team is. We have 42 FFLs, so we do have other locations, but the majority of operations are based out of Austin.
That's awesome. So let's talk about, what Capital Armory is like leading on the forefront of right now, right?
Okay.
So, the buying a suppressor online side of things, right? Yeah. So how does that process work? So if I wanted to go on and buy a suppressor, how does it go from there to my front door, right? Because that's crazy to think about.
Easy, man. Easier than it's ever been. And we're striving to make it easier every single year, working directly with the ATF, the ASA, and just trying to change the NFA as a whole and making this more accessible to everybody. It all starts just making the purchase online. And then from there, we're going to send them some emails to make a customer profile to get fingerprints to us. It's all can be done from your home and a trip or two to the mailbox.
That's awesome.
It's a fingerprint kit, which you can just fingerprint yourself at home. It takes 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I've done this so many times that I think I'm down to a minute filling out the form and slapping all my fingers on there.
That's awesome.
But it's super easy. A lot of people are intimidated by it. There's no reason to be intimidated.
Yeah.
The overall process is your purchase, fingerprints, which they'll get a kit delivered to their house that has cards, instructions, ink, and a prepaid return envelope. So we'll get that card straight back to us.
It's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, they make a customer profile, upload a photo, which they don't have to get a passport photo, take a selfie with your phone against a plain background, and then just demographic information on that same profile.
Yeah. So basically, do they have to do the e-form setup? Do they have to have an e-form profile set up?
They're going to make an account, but they're not generating the form.
Yes,
so
correct. Yeah.
In one of our emails, we'll say, hey, go to eforms.atf.gov. You're going to make an account. You're going to put your information in there. That's it. Once we have all of that, we're going to send them a DocuSign email where we pre-generate their Form 4 for them.
Nice.
And they're just signing it. You can do that on your phone. It takes a minute.
Nice.
From there, the certification process, we're going to send them a link that says, hey, your form's ready to certify for your silencer. Jump on your computer. There's going to be a couple questions that you answer, and then you're going to call us. And while you're on your computer, we're going to have you on the phone. We're going to open up a screen share and certify that form with you. We're walking them through it. It's not any of the questions in there, they'll know the answers to. And that's just verifying information. They're not filling anything out there. We've already done all of that. Okay. So that's where we're kind of different is we become that service. We're filling out the papers for you and getting it all squared away.
Yeah. And I think that's why it was so important for us, because we've been asked so many times, we on our website, we're kind of have everything, right? We're that one-stop shop, right? The only thing we were missing was suppressors.
Yeah.
And, having the relationship with you guys to help process that paperwork for us is huge, right? Because now it can go right to their front door. So how does that process work? 'Cause I know a lot of people are like, how is that legal, right?
Yeah.
So you guys, we were just talking, you have 42 FFLs.
Yep.
So do you have to have an FFL in every state, or what does that look like?
Every state where silencers are legal for civilian ownership, we have an FFL. And the way that works is once we have you certified, that's that last step, sending those papers off to the ATF. Once we get an approval back, we're sending our customer an email to fill out a 4473. The same form you fill out anytime you buy a gun. If they're buying silencers, they've probably filled this form out a time or two.
100%.
Got to have a gun to put them on.
Yeah.
But they fill out a 4473. take a picture of your driver's license, and then we need it's a part of ATF's 2020-1. The 2020-1 is the not over the counter transfer, and we can send it straight to their door. That's the purpose of this whole thing, right?
Got it.
We have to send a Clio notice. There's a 7-day wait associated with that. It's not asking permission.
It's just notifying.
Yeah. So your local sheriff's department's going to get a letter that says, hey, John Smith bought a silencer. It's not like a checkbox, yes or no. It's they get it, they can throw it in the trash. We're cool. We're happy.
Yeah. We just notified them. Yeah. Right.
And those have to go snail mail. So it takes 2 to 3 weeks, we say, from your approval date and you filling out your 4473 to land a silencer on your door. Got it.
Okay. All right. So you still go through the approval process, but just because it's approved doesn't mean it ships right to your house right away, right? There is still a couple steps that have to happen.
Yes, correct. Okay. And we're trying to simplify all of that and get that wait as short as it can be. So how all of that works is you get your approval. Again, we send the 4473, you upload that photo. And then we have to send that Clio notice, snail mail. It goes USPS certified mail.
Okay.
Once it lands at your sheriff's office, that starts a 7-day wait. And then at the end of that 7 days, we're getting our silencer sent over to the location in your state.
Yep.
During that wait to hopefully minimize some of that shipping time.
Okay.
And at the end of that 7 days, we're trying to get it out the door.
So basically, you guys are literally trying to get it set up to where everything's happening behind the scenes. Just because that stuff is in motion doesn't mean it's slowing down your process of actually getting the suppressor delivered. So what is the ATF 20-21 that you were saying about that allows that without being an over the counter transfer?
That's their procedure for not having to go into a gun store to acquire an NFA item or SBR or transferable machine gun. We can do it with all those things.
Okay.
But it allows us to ship a silencer directly to a customer.
Okay.
In any of those 42 states where silencers are legal. So not California, not New York, not New Jersey, so on.
Yeah. The commie states.
But it's the outline. It outlines all of those procedures, and that's what we've been following and working with them to continually improve.
So other than silencers, are you able to do that? You said machine guns, transferables, SBRs. Like this whole process is the same for those as it is for suppressors?
Yeah, you can get a machine gun delivered to your door.
That's wild. That's wild.
That's America.
Yeah, it's freedom, bitches, right? Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. So basically, the process, again, kind of reiterate here is because I know a lot of people are going to ask these questions, right? Especially now that we're offering suppressors, like to try and educate them, is you buy it off our website.
Yep.
You do your paperwork, you do your fingerprints, and then you wait once the approval is done, you wait 7 days. And then does it ship to a local gun store?
No, so we're sending it to our location in their state. So we have 42
So you guys
locations.
actually have physical location in these 42 states?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
So those are closed to the public. So they will have to get shipped to your door. All of our Texas customers, we say you can come pick it up at our Cedar Park location if you want, just outside of Austin.
Okay.
But everyone else that's going to get shipped to your door, they go USPS adult signature required.
Yep.
Yeah, UPS adult signature required. Sorry, I misspoke. But man, it's something that's really blown up in the last year.
Oh,
with,
100%.
With approval times being as low as they are. Even trusts were always kind of the I'm still waiting 9 months. We're seeing day, 2-day, 3-day approvals on trusts now, and
really,
that's been crazy.
Yeah. So when I got some suppressors in February, and I did some in October of last year, and I was waiting for October, and then I did some in February. And they literally was like the Friday before the Super Bowl. And on Super Bowl Sunday, they came back and I was like, this is a glitch. Like something's not right here. Like this is not right.
I think that was right when that was all kicking off.
Exactly.
Too.
I was one of the first people to see it come back that quick. It was 72 hours. And I was like, I got to go get more. And then I started looking online and everyone's like, yeah, mine came back in 7 days. Mine came back this. I saw a guy the other day that came back in 16 hours.
Yeah.
This is crazy. So is this from your side, because you guys live in the suppressor world, is this here to stay?
That supposedly that started they didn't say anything. It's we just started seeing approvals and I was like, I sold this to that guy yesterday and it's approved. I was like, oh, what man. Then the ATF, they put out a statement saying that, hey, this is it from now on.
That's awesome.
We're trying to keep this as fast as we can.
Yeah.
And then they made a statement at that same time saying trusts will be at the same wait time. And we're all kind of man, that's bullshit.
Yeah. No we know how trusts work, right?
Well, it was just man, I don't know if I believe it.
Yeah.
And then that's happened in the last 2 months. We've been seeing that now. So the wait time, what used to be a year,
Yeah.
which put off a lot of people.
100%. No one wanted to, I mean, that was the, I mean, you know, I remember, you know, I've been in the industry for 12 years now. And I remember like first starting is like, I want a suppressor because it's like kind of like the exotic thing, right?
Yep.
Like, you know, it's cool, like suppressors. And then I never wanted to buy one because I didn't want to, you know, pay for the suppressor, pay the $200 tax stamp, and then wait 12, you know, 13 months for it to come back.
Yeah.
And now, you know, I mean, that's skyrocketed. I mean, I bet you the suppressor, I mean, you guys were probably busy as hell earlier this year with all the wait times.
They said that the Form 4s the ATF was processing was up some couple 100%.
That's wild.
On the year alone, which is awesome.
Yeah.
More people having suppressors is fantastic.
100%. Yeah. I mean, because like if you're not shooting suppress, like what are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even tell you the last time I shot unsuppressed. Like I only shoot suppressed.
It's hard to go back.
So Zach, so what are some of the like common myths and like misconceptions that you guys are hearing? Because I'm sure there's a ton of them out there, man.
It's a constant battle of one, like, hey, silencers are legal.
Yep.
It's for the longest time, everyone thought you can't own that. You can't own that. Well, the NFA was meant as a barrier to entry.
Yep.
So they didn't want you to own it.
Yep.
But $200 back in the 1930s or whenever the NFA was implemented was a lot more money.
Yeah, 100%.
If it wasn't adjusted for inflation, that tax stamp would be $4,500.
Which is crazy to think about.
That's more than 98% of guns that you're ever going to buy.
Yeah.
But you can own silencers in any state where they're legal. We currently have 42 states where silencers are legal for civilian ownership, and we can ship them straight to your door in those states.
Which is awesome.
The other big one is people think that, oh, well, now the ATF can just raid my house whenever they want. That's still incredibly illegal. They'd have to obtain a warrant, and they'd have to have a reason to get a warrant to raid your house.
Yeah, don't give them a reason.
You're not losing any of your rights by buying a silencer. I hear that all the time. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Incredibly wrong.
Yeah.
And then just people also, man, what was that last one?
Well, I see people that like comment all the time, like that are like, oh, well, if I buy a suppressor, now I'm on like a gun registry. And it's like,
you're probably on a couple lists,
yeah.
but you know, it's not a bad thing. We can be on that list together if it is a thing.
Yeah, we're all in this together. So Zach, so the $200 that you're paying the government to do the background check, where does that money go?
So that's another big misconception. People think it's just funding. You're just giving money to the ATF.
Yeah.
It goes into a general fund for the United States because it's a tax.
Yeah.
A Form 4 is a tax document.
Yeah.
So that's another strange thing with this. No one other than an ATF agent is allowed to ask you to see your tax stamp. So if you get pulled over, and don't be that guy that, you know, if a cop asks to see it, like he's probably going to get an ATF field agent out there to come and hassle you. But it's a tax document. So it's not going to the ATF. It's not going to the police department. It's not going anywhere. It's going in a general fund.
Yeah. The $200 you're paying is not going to fund the ATF.
Correct.
It's going to the government. It's a tax, right? It's not, you're not funding the ATF when you buy a suppressor.
Yeah.
Like you're not funding more gun control.
Exactly. That's a huge thing. I see it all the time in the comments. Same thing as like people thinking silencers are illegal.
Yep.
It's just one of those things that we're constantly battling, and it's the information's getting out there. Thankfully.
Yeah. And especially like, you know, back in 1934, right? Like when they did the Gun Control Act and all this stuff, like the technology around suppressors is not the same, right?
No,
like,
it was freezer plugs and a tube.
Yeah.
It's very different now.
Yeah, 100%. So, you know, it's good to see that we're answering and we're kind of moving forward and we're getting out of this misconceptions, right? And we're able to have this information out there for customers to be able to feel comfortable, right? Like, because at the end of the day, we want more people owning more firearms and more suppressors, right?
Absolutely.
You know, that's what makes the United States great.
Yep.
Right. So what is, you know, just to kind of educate some of the customers out there. So what's the difference between filing it as an individual and filing it as a trust? Like, what is the difference between those two?
Yeah, we get that question all the time.
Yeah.
And it's filing it as an individual. This is talking about your Form 4, so your silencer approval or your tax stamp itself.
Yep.
Filing as an individual, it would just be under your name. So for me, if I file as an individual, I'm just Zach Tooney.
Yep.
I started like that. My first silencer, I said, oh, it's just going to be one.
Yeah.
And that was an RC2 and then a Hyperion and just going from there. Right. And then once I was 10 deep, I was like, it's not just one anymore.
Yeah.
The biggest difference being filing as an individual. Like I can't write you onto my tax stamp to let you go shoot it if you just want to go have a range day with it.
Yep.
And then passing it down, you'd have to fill out a Form 5, which is a taxless transfer with the ATF. So if I have these things, I pass away, my future kids want them, whatever, they'd have to fill out a Form 5 for those individual ones.
Got it.
As opposed to if I file on a trust, I can just write whoever I want in as beneficiaries and they inherit all of my items, all of my NFA items. They don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
makes life way easier.
So when you add the beneficiaries, do you have to have all the beneficiaries on the trust at the time of when you're doing the suppressor, or can you add more people, like add down?
You can do addendums.
Okay.
But the other thing that you can do with that trust is you can add co-trustees. So I would break it down into responsible parties and non-responsible parties.
Okay.
People that you have to have fingerprints for if you're filing, and people that you don't. So non-responsible, and it may depend on the trust.
Okay.
So broad terms, non-responsible parties are going to be your successors and your beneficiaries. So people that are inheriting your items if you pass away.
Got it.
Your responsible parties are people that are probably using them while you're still here. So
got it. Okay.
If you're my good friend, family member, whatever it is, I can write you onto my trust. You can have full legal access to any of my NFA items on that trust.
Okay.
You can take them to the range. I don't have to be there. As opposed to the individual thing. If you want to use my silencer, I'd have to be there with you.
Got it.
It makes it easier to pass them down.
But in that case, you would have to have the fingerprints done for them, right?
It depends. So that's kind of another weird part of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
So if you start with the trust, say you're buying your first one, you put it on a trust. You say, oh, I want to write my brother on.
Yep.
Okay. You can buy that item with just you on there, just you fingerprinted. Once it gets approved and you have it in your possession, you can write your brother on there and you don't have to fingerprint him or anything. He can have full legal ownership of that silencer too, until you go to buy another one. Then he would need to be fingerprinted. So it gets weird. It gets muddy, but that's kind of another thing that we do.
That's the next step that we got to fix. Right?
We're here to answer those questions too. So that's kind of the strange part, but trusts overall, like I think that's the best way to do everything, especially now that there's not a negative connotation with them in wait times.
Yeah, because the wait time was what really delayed people, because that's what did it for me. I did the same thing you did. Like I started with just doing individuals, like I'm only going to get 1 or 2, and then it turned into 5, then it turned into 6. Now I'm up to like 10, and I still did the last ones on individual, but now I got kids, I got my wife. Like I want to make sure that when, if something happens, that there's no, excess nonsense that needs to happen for when they get older, right?
I think if anyone's looking to get into it, like seriously, you can find trusts out there. We sell one for $80. It's a full trust, so all of your NFA items go on there. And there's other people that sell them too. We'll use anybody's trust for filing.
Yeah.
Start with a trust.
Yeah.
It would save you so much headache, because now if I want to take those 10 silencers that I have on my individuals, or filed as an individual, if I want to put them on my trust, I have to pay that tax stamp again to refile them.
Oh, geez.
Maintain possession the whole time, but that's $2,000 in tax stamps when I could have just started, I didn't want to spend the $80 the first time.
Yeah, 100%. Because you're like always thinking like, oh, this is just the first one.
Yeah. So it's only one.
So you basically, you kind of, I guess, answer some of the questions I was going to ask is so basically if you do it as an individual and then want to move them to a trust, you'd have to do the tax stamp all over again. It's not a Form 5? It would,
it's another Form 4. So you're transferring it to yourself, or you're transferring it from individual to your trust, your entity, right? But it's another $200, which shouldn't be a thing. But it is.
It is.
So if you can find a trust, man,
and just do it right from the start, especially with wait times that are down now, right? There's no point for wait time sake to have to worry about that.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's great to hear. So how many people do you guys have? I'm assuming for this whole process, you're saying you had to be on the phone and talk people through and do all that stuff. So you guys just have standby people at Capital Armory that are there to answer questions and walk people through.
Man, when I started there 3 years ago, we had a team of, I think, 5 in Austin. And I think that's tripled.
That's awesome.
In the last year alone. So now we have a dedicated team for the not over the counter process, the silencers to your door program.
Yep.
We have a team that handles all of that. We have just our sales team, shipping department. We do Cerakote as well. But then we have all of our 42 locations. So we have someone there as well. It's like the business has really grown, and it's been a crazy year.
Yeah. So what is like, is there like people, if they call in, do they get somebody right away?
Yes.
Okay.
If you call Capital Armory, you get someone in our Austin, Texas location, and it may be me, it may be someone else, but we answer the phones, we answer emails, Instagram, Reddit, whatever it is. Yeah. If you can find a way to get a hold of us, we will answer you.
That's awesome. So how long is usually the wait from somebody buying a suppressor? Like, you guys are in wait times right now. Are they still 1 to 2 days? Are they creeping up a little bit, or what are the wait times?
I would say most people are still hanging out sub-month. That's getting your approval. So you do everything, you get your information in, get certified, and then get your approval. The shipping process, I say, is like a safety blanket. Like, give us 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
It may be quicker. It may take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But the biggest benefit of that is you're not having to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You're not having to pay transfer fees, which is a big thing.
Yep.
Like transfer fees for NFA items.
Yeah. Some people charge $200 for that, right? You're paying $200 for a tax stamp and then $200 on top of that for.
A lot of people don't get it though. They're like, think of if I buy a PSA gun online, ship it to my local gun store, they're going to want some money out of that, right? Because they're doing work.
Yep.
A lot of people don't get that for NFA stuff. And that used to be, hey, you bought this online, you're sending it to me, I got to do the paperwork, and it's going to sit on my shelf for a year and a half.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
And it's a lot more paperwork behind it too, on top of the 4473,
100%.
right? So with what we're doing together, there's no transfer fee.
Yep.
We're not charging them anything on top of what you guys are doing on the website. So they're doing the whole transaction on PSA's website.
Yep.
And then we're just doing all their paperwork. So they're going to get some emails from us, and they're going to have correspondence with us, but they're not paying us anything. There's no hidden fees on top of any of this.
For sure. So where do you see the suppressor market going? Do you think it's going to be still like up and up? Like, do you think it's going to keep going with how we're doing things now?
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah.
It's climbed so much. Like just in the last few years, like when I got into it, they were still kind of niche to now. If I go to the range, there's a good handful of people that are shooting suppressed, and it's just growing and growing. I hope it continues to. Yeah. Especially now with all the DMLS and everything, like 3D really printing, growing. Yeah. All the companies out here that are doing all of that and just changing the game. Yep. Like every SHOT Show, which I don't know if this is going to be out before or after that, but all this cool stuff that comes out every single SHOT Show that changes the game. Yep. It's impressive, man. There's not been a better time to get into it.
For sure. And I mean, and it's cool to see. I mean, we were just talking before we did this, like about like every day there's like something new, right? Like you're seeing something new. You know, I was just scrolling through the Instagram this morning and I just saw like a new type of suppressor system with the 3D printed. They're like, you know, doing something radial and, you know, kind of the way the gas is venting on it and all that stuff. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. So what's your take on like low back pressure, flow through cans?
All for it, man.
You are?
All for
you
it.
Like it?
It's seeing kind of what the military is going after now is silencers that are not increasing bolt velocity. Yep. And then silencers that not with the they're not increasing bolt velocity, so they're not adding additional gas to the system. You're not going to get gassed out shooting it. Yep. There's not a negative side effect to breathing in all those toxic fumes.
I mean, that is a fact. Some of them are a little rough.
That technology used to kind of suck, and now it's like I'm shooting some of the new stuff that's coming out for SHOT that's low back pressure, and it's impressive, man. Like it has come such a long way, because that used to be people like, oh, the flow through stuff is loud. Like it's really, really coming a long way. And
I remember the first time I shot a flow through can, I was like, holy crap, there's no gas. But then I was like noticing, I was like, but it is kind of loud, right? Yeah. But now like some of these other newer cans, like you get the best of both worlds, right? You know, and you know, at the end of the day, I mean, the hearing safe shooting, you know, 300 blackout, you know, 8.6 blackout, the new 338 ARC coming out, right? Like, I mean, there's so many new calibers that are coming out now that are supporting the suppressor market, right? Like, I mean, it's really cool to see where the future is going as far as suppressed shooting and what's going on, you know? So what do you guys see for like the next 5 years, like the suppressor market, like heading? I mean, this is like your baby, right? You guys are living in this. So do you see like something crazy happening in the next 3 to 5 years on that? Do you think it's just going to keep going?
People are they're always hopeful, pushing it through acts like the Hearing Protection Act, stuff like that. I don't know if it'll ever get passed. And it is somewhat of a double-edged sword, because the NFA, while it's a barrier to entry, and it was very intentionally so, saying like, hey, silencer short barrel rifles are bad, but you can have it if you pay us $200. Same thing with everything in the world. You can have it if you have money. I don't know if they're going to change anything. Like in Texas, they tried to do something every year for like Texas-made suppressors.
Yes.
But they're still regulated on the federal market.
Correct.
So it's like, I don't know.
And it'll be tough because that's like a law, right? So like you need Congress to help change that, right? You know, one of the things that I'm hopeful for is, you know, obviously the wait times have come down, but like being able to just do a 4473, right? Like, you know, being able to just to do a 4473, like get it, you know, there's no like we're notifying, you know, like with the Clio thing you were talking about earlier, it's like we're just notifying you that I got this, right? Like I shouldn't have to wait for your like long form background, all these extra processes, you know what I mean? But
that's part of it that I don't get is like, if we're just, you have to, there's a Clio notice that goes out if you buy a silencer, SPR, or whatever. There's no wait period with that. But then it's the not over the counter process where you have to send one and have a mark from USPS saying, hey, they got this.
Yeah.
And they don't have to say anything. I don't know if it's there for like, hey, this guy robbed a bank, don't give him that silencer.
Yeah.
In like the 7-day period it took us to get that out.
But
like,
how many times are they actually looking at it?
I don't know if they are, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But, are they just throwing it in a pile and like?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I think they read it like, oh, this guy got a can, whatever. I don't think there's some file that these police stations are using or anything, you know?
Yeah, no,
but,
for sure. So, well, Zach, I mean, thanks for coming on. I mean, I hope this will help clear some air, and help people feel more comfortable about purchasing suppressors, especially online, right? Like, with the Amazon and the consumer market's gotten lazier, right? Like, I mean, I'm lazy when it comes to the Amazon side effect, right?
That's what I always say is like, we're in a 2-day shipping world or same day shipping now, which is crazy, or same day delivery.
Yeah. So, with Walmart and all that stuff. I mean, my thing is like, I don't even go to like, if I got to buy a part for something like a PVC part, right? I got to fix something under my house. I don't even go to Home Depot anymore. I just order on Amazon because I'm like, oh, it's the middle of the week. I ain't going to work on it until this weekend. I don't need to go, right? Like, no need for me to go. So, like, to see suppressors in that same mindset is really, really cool to see. The stuff that you guys are doing to support that at Capital Armory is awesome. Like, it's really cool how you guys set that process up. So where do people go to find out more information about Capital Armory?
Anything Capital Armory on any of the social medias. CapitalArmory.com being the bigger one. And then we're also partnering with PSA for you guys' silencer sales.
Yep.
Man, find us anywhere you can.
Yeah.
The biggest ones being the website if you're wanting to get on there and do that stuff.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Zach, thanks for coming on the Coffee Talk. I really appreciate you flying out from Texas to come hang out with us. To see more information on Palmetto State Armory, head on over to our website. And if there's anybody else you want to see from on the Coffee Talk about the firearms industry, let us know in the comments below. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yep.